Hello, we're here today at the 2022 Informs Annual Meeting. I am joined by the incoming 2023 Informs President, Laura Albert. She is the Chair and Professor of Industrial and Systems Engineering at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Thank you so much for joining me today and taking time out of your very busy annual meeting schedule to meet with me today.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you. So I just want to talk to you about your thoughts on Informs as you're coming into your presidential year. And after you've just had your president-elect year. So the first thing I want to ask is if you can just give us a brief state of some of the Inform's major activities right now from your viewpoint.
Yeah, from my viewpoint, we have about 12,000 members, and the membership has been pretty steady. Our major activities are publications and meetings. I guess publications really aren't an event, but they are an activity.
Yeah.
And our downloads are outstanding. Mm-hmm. We're seeing record downloads of the papers.
Yeah.
People are really excited to read about all the work that we do.
Yeah.
And in terms of meetings, we ushered in-person meetings this year, both the analytics meeting and here at the annual meeting.
Yes.
Fully in person. It's been great.
Yes.
We have pre-pandemic attendance of more than 6,000
Yes.
attendees.
Yes.
And it's just been really wonderful to be together. I feel inspired.
Good. Everyone seems very happy to be back to fully in person, seeing all their colleagues at the meetings. Everyone's spending extra time in rooms. Even when meetings are over, I see people just huddled everywhere. It's great to see.
I agree. It's this exchange of ideas that we have that really is the fuel for all the innovation that we see in our community. It starts here at meetings.
Yeah, great. Thank you. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of what you said in your candidate statement. You noted that many societally important problems remain that require ORMS innovation. And it's your intention to position Informs and the profession to undertake these challenges. So how will you do this?
That's a great question. I see two main areas for that. One is meetings. Just because the meetings are back, it doesn't mean that we're going to be meeting in the same way as we did before the pandemic. Some extra care needs to be paid to how we meet, not just at the annual meeting, but what's the whole portfolio of meeting opportunities. Is there a role for virtual? Do we want to rethink the format for the annual meeting? It's a good time to experiment a little to see what works best for our members and really prepares us for those future challenges. Okay. And the other major component of that is advocacy, which is really getting the word out
Yes.
of all the great work that we're doing and turning our research and our contributions and our advances into something that makes a difference, whether that be policy or legislation. And that's what I really hope to achieve.
Okay. Well, you gave me a nice segue into my next question. Can you briefly discuss your role in the Informs Advocacy Initiative and the Advocacy Governance Committee?
Sure. Informs started this advocacy initiative in 2018, and it really had two main pieces. One was help build these relationships with federal policymakers, mostly at the federal level, really so that they would understand that we're a place that has proven tools to solve some of their problems, and we have the expertise. And a lot of good things happen once we establish these relationships and get the word out. Creates a lot of opportunities for members, mm-hmm. and it also, makes a difference. It helps our, elected officials understand the importance of science funding. So there's a lot of good things that happen for the whole OR and MS ecosystem.
Yeah.
The other piece was the Government and Analytics Summit, and those were held in 2018 and 2019.
I went to both.
Great. And we really, we had some really great speakers who could really help tell outsiders about our brand and our contributions and what we had to offer, and made it really digestible. And we had a number of staffers from various agencies and legislative offices come and learn about what OR is and how it can help them solve problems that were really relevant for today. Then the pandemic hit. Yes. But also during that, we started a committee to really have members give feedback on what the opportunities were, how to strengthen the advocacy initiative. Yeah. And that's still going.
Yeah. I think it's going really well from what I can hear. How were you part of starting the initiative, or were you roped into it after it was an idea? I'm just curious.
I was roped into it, should I say that? But, the then President Nick Hall proposed the initiative.
Okay.
And then I was part of, it was a team effort, but I specifically chaired the Government and Analytics Summit and chaired the first committee. And then
never left the committee.
That's true. But, a lot of cool things happened out of that. Actually, in one of our meetings, the kind of, it's not a tagline, but it's a phrase, saving lives, saving money, solving problems. That came about as we were brainstorming ways to like tell our message to the outsiders, and it really stuck.
It did, and I love that one.
Me too.
Thank you. So DEI in STEM has always been an issue. It's been brought to the forefront in recent years. From the work that you've done, I see that you're constantly advocating for women and underrepresented groups, serving on the DEI committee, and you even helped to write the Informs Code of Conduct.
Yep.
So how do you plan to continue this important work to further DEI at Informs during your presidency?
Well, the great news is that a lot's been happening lately that I think we can really build on. One thing is that Secretary Mark Lewis has been chairing a small group looking at some changes to make committees more inclusive, which I think is really important to think about how we kind of invite people to the table and help them have a say in important decisions.
That's important, yeah.
And there'll be some we'll see how we can operationalize that this coming year. You mentioned the DEI committee, which is a really great committee. So they've been doing a lot for Informs. One thing that they've done this past year is introducing the bias video, and we've gotten a lot of positive feedback from that. And I think that's going to open the doors to next couple steps beyond that. I do want to hear from that committee and the organizations that some of them represent about what those steps are. I think the member feedback is really helpful.
Yeah.
So we're looking to kind of see what can happen there that is good. And the third thing is we're collecting a lot of data about our members.
Yes.
So it's like if you understand the data, you can see it, that will help drive decision making. And so I've updated my demographic information in my Informs IOL account, and I hope a lot of our members choose to do that, because that will be very informative and can help ensure that we have the kind of representation that we want in committees, but in other ways as well.
Yeah, and that was a DEI ambassador project this year. I love all of their projects. I always go to their sessions at this meeting. They're very inspiring. So
I went to that session as well. It was inspiring.
It was great. So you're a career-long Informs member, that's what we'll call you, and you've served in numerous capacities, which includes the VP of Marketing, Communication, and Outreach, and at that point, you shepherded in a renewed Informs online presence and re-energized Informs media efforts. So I'm curious, what's next in that space?
Oh, I think, we've got this great logo. So my first year on the board, I introduced the logo. And in part, as you just mentioned, that the Informs had a new online presence. We had a new website. And one thing that I led is the effort to think about if we wanted a new logo. I like the old logo, a lot of people did, but I was also open for change. And it turns out we did a member survey and our members were really open for change. What's missing from that logo is really a tagline. We're probably asked a lot as members. I know I am, what's Informs?
Right.
Many people that are not familiar with Informs don't know that it stands for something.
Right.
And it's kind of a mouthful,
but even
to be
spelling
honest.
it out doesn't tell everyone what exactly we do, right?
Exactly. So really thinking about branding and in conjunction with an online presence to really help get our messages to the world will be a way we can achieve on all the successes we've had in our discipline.
Yeah, thank you. Are there any other new goals or in the works Informs initiatives that you can share today? I'm
looking forward to a year of inspiration, innovation, and impact, and how, I know we're still coming out of the pandemic, but and we're talking about the new normal, but what does that really mean for Informs? And we don't want just normal, we want to see inspiration, innovation, and impact. We want things to be working really well. A couple of key areas where I want to focus, which may or may not be initiatives, but at least areas where we can kind of realign the trajectory of Informs, are meetings, which I've already mentioned, and mobile engagement and virtual engagement. And how do we get the most out of our membership when we're not all together? Because most of the time we feel like Informs members, and we are, accessing the material or engaging with one another virtually or on mobile devices. And there's an opportunity there. So
just tell us a little bit more about yourself. What drew you to OR and management science in the first place? How'd you get here?
It was like many of our members, it was not a straight path. I was an undergraduate engineering major. I took a class in OR and thought that was pretty interesting. And interesting enough that I took a senior design elective in optimization, and it was more design optimization, so not totally what we do in OR, but it was just so cool. Like, we were trying to figure out how to optimize the design of like maybe a truss, and it had an objective, and you had a limited amount of material and space constraints. And to me, it just blew my mind that you could represent all of this with a mathematical model. You can abstract it, and you can make all these interdependent decisions at once without just having to fine-tune and try with trial and error. And what was also fun about that course is we learned about some algorithms and how they worked, and we would, program them and would learn about strengths and weaknesses that way. And so that also opened my eyes up to the algorithmic side and what was really cool about optimization. And, I knew that that's where I wanted to go.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. Did you have any mentors or any other people that played a significant role in your education or early career getting you to where you are today?
Oh, absolutely. My main mentor was my PhD advisor, Sheldon Jacobson, who's still at the University of Illinois. I think anybody who has a mentor who's also their advisor and lifelong friend is really lucky, and I'm certainly very blessed along the way. Early in my career, I got to know other academics through meetings mostly and because of research. And there are a number of people that helped me along the way and gave me sometimes unsolicited advice that I greatly, greatly appreciated. And I'm going to leave some people out, but I'm going to name a couple of names with many apologies. A couple include Jason Merrick, who was a colleague at VCU, Dave Morton at Northwestern, Shane Henderson at Cornell. And also Robin Dillon Merrill at Georgetown University. She was an official mentor on a program that I worked on, and then David Mendonza.
Great, thank you. So, what compelled you to become an Informs member?
I was a first-year PhD student. My advisor and mentor, Sheldon Jacobson,
was already here.
Yeah, he said I should sign up for a membership. And I was like, well, I could probably think of other things to do with that $30. But he really sat me down and told me about the importance of being a member of a professional organization and how it would give me so much over my career. And I signed up. And I've been a member ever since. So it's been decades at this point.
Yes.
And I didn't even attend the annual meeting that time.
Really?
But the next year I did, I think, if I've got the math correct.
Yeah.
And I've just, of course, I was hooked at that point.
Oh, awesome. So membership is so essential to the financial health of Informs as well. And you noted in your candidate statement that it's critical to enhance the membership experience, especially for practitioners. So can you just elaborate on ways you might try to reach the golden professionals and encourage them to join Informs? They seem so unreachable, but we want them here. So
exactly.
How do we do that?
I'm a lifelong academic, so I don't have a lot of insight into practitioners, but I do educate a lot of students who become practitioners, and that is a critical juncture in their career.
Yeah.
So one thing that Informs is working on is some member survey and some market research on early career professionals, and that seems like an opportunity for us in particular. We're also looking at some other data that will help understand that. And, we know that subdivisions is so important for the member experience. And we've been looking a little bit at, how our members are engaging with those subdivisions, especially student members, over the past couple of years. And, once we have that information, I think we'll be able to make some progress. We also had a mega discussion last year on practice that I'm hoping to build on this coming year.
Okay.
So it's a little bit of collecting data and then working together as a board.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how we get those members here. So tell us about your blog, Punk Rock Operations Research. Why did you start it? When did you start it? What do you write about in it?
I started it in 2007, and that was my first year on the tenure track. And I was just really interested in science blogging. Like, blogging was cool back then, believe it or not. I think it's still pretty cool, but not everybody shares that opinion. But I really started it because I was a first-year professor at Virginia Commonwealth University. There weren't too many in the OR discipline there, and I felt it's a little isolating at times. And I wanted to get the word out to other students like I formerly was that didn't really know what OR was to begin with. And I didn't realize I'd reached so many people over, I guess, 15 years now.
Right.
And just kind of taken on a life of its own.
Yeah.
It's been fun. It's been good. I like writing, so professors write a lot. So why not write a little bit more? It kind of gets
Yeah.
you in the habit of writing on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And, I learn a lot, writing as learning. So it helps me really think more clearly about ways I want to tell our message.
Yeah.
And it's given me some practice at that over the past 15 years.
Do you keep up with it regularly still?
Not really,
Yeah.
as you'll learn, but I am still writing.
That's dedication for 15 years. Everyone tried to start a blog at one point, right? Like you said, it was really
Right.
popular, and most of them didn't last 15 years. So
Mine is still going.
Yeah.
I'm just the volume isn't there, but I don't think the
Yeah.
volume really needs to be there. There's a lot
Yeah.
of content out there at this point.
Yeah.
And I did have a very recent post inspired by dropping my daughter off to college.
Oh, wow. Well, we hope to see some presidential punk rock OR in the magazines next year.
You can count on it.
Yeah. So the last thing I want to know is just if there's one particular area or initiative that you really want to move the dial on during 2022, something that you can see happen, during your presidency year.
I really like Informs to have a tagline. That's a huge goal. I really want to, also look at other tangential issues that might help with the branding. That's one area that will pay dividends for years if we can do it. Also looking at governance, we have a constitutional amendment coming up.
We do.
Will be really important. Thinking how we not only modernize the Constitution, but maybe modernize the governance, and some work to do maybe after that Constitution is
Yeah.
passed to make sure that the board continues to be strategic and forward-looking. I think that's the best thing we can do for the future of Informs is to be proactive and making sure that we're focused on the future.
Yeah. Great. Well, thank you so much for taking the time today. I really appreciate it.
Well, thanks for interviewing me. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was. Thanks.